Rain pelted down hard on the glass canopy of the spaceport's underbelly. The metal corridors echoed with half-empty footsteps, the kind that only come from places people try to forget. Here, in the shadowed backlots of Station 9 Keelan, past where the traders did their deals and where maintenance bots rolled sluggishly, something stirred. She lay there, curled up beside a heat vent. Naked but for scraps of thermal foil and a rusted collar still blinking red around her throat. Her skin was violet, a soft, bruised kind of violet, marred with healing burns and dried blood. Her eyes flickered open when the shift change sirens wailed through the station's guts. She was supposed to be dead. The collar marked her as prey, a cast from the outer territories, rounded up, auctioned, and released onto hunting worlds for sport. No name. No rights. And certainly no future. Except she'd somehow survived her hunt. Survived long enough to crawl back to civilization. That's when he saw her. Jace Rennick wasn't a hero. Just a freight tech, barely making rent on his berth, fixing grave trucks for smugglers and corporate creeps. But he had a bad habit of walking the long way home, cutting through the dead corridors. Said it cleared his head. Said he liked the quiet. But when he saw her huddled there, skin raw, eyes wild with the kind of terror you only earn, something inside him shifted. She looked up at him like she expected to be kicked. He didn't move. Didn't speak. Just took off his jacket, greasy, patched up, human-sized, and held it out. She flinched when he got closer, then froze. Her nostrils flared, catching his scent. It was a strange moment, like some invisible scale tipped. She took the jacket. The next hour passed in a blur of tension. He didn't ask questions. Didn't try to touch her. Just led her, slowly, carefully, to his cramped unit near Dock 43. She didn't speak, but her eyes tracked everything. Every movement, every noise. Like a soldier still in the field. Once inside, he handed her water, then turned his back while she drank. He didn't look when she showered. Just listened for a fall, a slip, anything. She didn't fall. She came out wrapped in a towel, the jacket over her shoulders, wet hair clinging to her face like ink. Still silent. He made a pallet on the floor. Gave her his bed. She didn't take it. Slept sitting up in the corner, eyes open. Days passed like that. She didn't speak, but she stayed. Watched. Waited. Jace kept showing up with food, kept pretending he didn't notice when she ate half of it before he even took off his boots. He didn't press. Didn't even ask her name. Then one night, while the station trembled under a freighter's departure shockwave, she finally spoke. "My name is Kale." He didn't say anything. Just nodded and handed her a blanket. More days. She started standing closer. Eating more. Sleeping longer. Her collar still blinked red, but weaker now, like it was running low on power. That's when the bounty notices started flashing. Prey class escapee. Dangerous. Lethal. Do not engage. 10,000 credits. Alive or dead. Her face. Her eyes. All over the feeds. Jace knew what that meant. The hunters weren't done. They'd lost their toy, and now they wanted her back. Or buried. He came home one night to find her standing by the window, collar glowing bright. Her hands were clenched. She'd seen the notice too. "I can't stay," she said. "You're not going," he answered. "They'll kill you." He shrugged. "Maybe. But I'll still be me." Kale stared at him for a long time. Why? He didn't have an answer. Not one that made sense. Maybe it was the way she moved, like a wild animal with shattered pride. Maybe it was the silence between them that never felt awkward. Or maybe, just maybe, he was tired of pretending he didn't care about anything. "They made me run," she said later, curled on the floor beside his bed. "Gave me 10 minutes. Then they released the packs." He didn't ask what happened after. Didn't need to. He started looking for ways out. Quietly. Bought new IDs on the black market. Greased some palms. Dug out an old shuttle plan he'd shelved years ago. She watched him. Didn't speak. But she started helping, quietly adjusting forged docs, fixing transponders, even correcting his language files in the fake manifests. Then, one night, she leaned in while he was working and said, They'll find us if we stay here. Yeah. Then we don't stay. That night, they made a plan. But the station wasn't asleep. And they weren't the only ones watching. 2 bounty agents showed up the next day. Big ones, ex-military types with cold eyes and even colder guns. They knocked on every door from Dock 41 to 50. Jace didn't answer his. Kale stood in the dark, silent, as the knock came and went. Her fingers twitched. Jace could feel the tension rolling off her. They won't stop, she whispered. Not until one of us is dead. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. We'll make them stop, he said. She looked at him, like she didn't quite believe it. But she wanted to. That was enough. They left that night. Took the back ducts, past the refuse tunnels and coolant lines. Kale moved like a shadow. Jace followed, heart thudding in his ears. They reached the hangar just before shift change. The shuttle was old but prepped. Ready. They almost made it. The first shot rang out from the upper catwalk. Kale spun, snarling, her eyes going gold. Jace dropped to the deck. Bounty agents, 3 this time, came out of nowhere. Guns up. No warnings. Kale didn't wait. She launched forward, moving like liquid death, closing the gap in heartbeats. The first agent went down with a scream, throat crushed. The second fired, hit her shoulder. She didn't even flinch. Jace grabbed a pipe and slammed it into the third's knee. He howled, and Kale finished him with a single, brutal twist. The silence after was deafening. Jace stared at her. Blood on her hands. Chest heaving. And in her eyes, not rage, not hate. Just sadness. I didn't want this, she said, voice cracking. I know. They boarded the shuttle. Tore out of the hangar like a comet, alarms blaring behind them. The stars opened up like a wound in the sky. She sat beside him in the cockpit, breathing shallow, bleeding, but alive. Jace glanced over, hand still on the controls. Where to? She looked at him like she hadn't expected to be asked. Then, after a moment, somewhere they don't hunt people for sport. He smiled. I think I know just the place. Behind them, Station 9 Keelan shrank into the void. But their story was just getting started. The stars were always quieter than anyone ever expected. Kale sat in the co-pilot's seat, a thread of gauze wrapped around her arm, blood drying in the creases of her skin. The shuttle thrummed steadily beneath them, a comforting hum that soothed the silence. Jace kept one hand on the controls, the other clutching a half-burnt stim stick. He didn't smoke it, just liked the feel of it between his fingers. Said it helped him think. They'd cleared the sector. For now. But that didn't mean they were safe. Ship's running hot, Kale murmured. Her voice was low, almost shy. Engine cores out of calibration. Jace didn't look at her. Didn't exactly have time for pre-flight checks. I can fix it. He glanced sideways. She was already unbuckling, moving toward the rear panel. Just don't blow us up. She gave a ghost of a smile. First one he'd seen. Hours passed in that suspended kind of time that only existed between star systems. Kale didn't talk much, but when she did, it was always precise. Measured. Like every word had weight. Jace listened. He was good at that, listening without interrupting. Without judgment. They caught me on Under 6, she said one night, crouched beside the engine casing. Tricked me. Said they wanted peace talks. Jace was on the floor, working on a busted stabilizer. Typical. They caged me. Then sold me. I was worth more because I fought back. He didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Not that would help. They made a game of it. Let them chase me through jungle terrain with cameras. Viewers bet on how long I'd last. She paused, then looked up. One of them bet 7 hours. He lost. Jace met her gaze. How long? She didn't blink. 9 days. That night, the silence between them wasn't hollow. It was heavy, but not lonely. They made it to a small moon near the outer rim. Uncharted. No authority. The kind of place smugglers used when they needed to disappear. Jace knew a guy, Rido. Ran a scrapyard and didn't ask questions. Rido greeted them with a grimy grin and a blaster always half-raised. Didn't expect you back from the dead, Jace. Wasn't planning on it. And her. She's with me. Rido's eyes narrowed. You know who she is. Jace stepped between them. I do. That was the end of it. They stayed in a rusted prefab near the edge of the yard. Quiet. Ugly. Safe. Kale spent her time reinforcing the walls, recalibrating defense systems, rewiring sensors. She never stopped moving. Like staying still was some kind of risk. Jace helped where he could, but mostly he watched. Not like a creep, just curious. Fascinated, even. She moved with this coiled grace, like a blade waiting to be drawn. And she smiled more now. Not often. But enough. One night, she showed him how to use her people's weapon, a folding blade that responded to nerve signals. She strapped it to his wrist, and when it flared to life, his eyes went wide. That's illegal tech, he whispered. She nodded. It is. He grinned. I like it. But peace never lasts. A transmission came through while Kale was out scouting the ridge. Jace picked it up, static heavy, scrambled, but unmistakable. Rennick. They know. They're coming. Burn everything. It was Rido's voice. Jace didn't wait. He packed what he could, rigged the prefab with a fallback burn, and ran. He found Kale halfway down the ridge, eyes scanning the horizon. They tracked us, he said. Rido sent a warning. She didn't ask how. Didn't curse. Just turned and started running. They were halfway to the shuttle when the sky cracked open. Dropships. At least 3. Painted black, no insignia. Not bounty hunters. Private military. Kale yanked him behind a ridge. The blasts hit seconds later, plasma scorched the earth where they'd just stood. They're not here to capture, she said. Jace wiped ash from his face. Figured that out. They didn't go back to the shuttle. Too obvious. Instead, Kale led him into the junk fields. Rido's maze of broken starcraft, hull plates, and forgotten tech. A graveyard of machines. I've got an idea, she muttered, crawling beneath a broken hoverskiff. They think like predators. We flip the rules. Jace raised an eyebrow. Meaning? We become the hunters. It wasn't just talk. Kale was terrifying when she planned. Quick. Cold. Efficient. She repurposed old weapons, set traps using powered coils and magnetic pulses. Taught Jace how to move without leaving trace. By the time the first soldier stepped into the field, they were ready. The fight wasn't flashy. It wasn't cinematic. It was brutal. One by one, the mercs dropped. Booby-trapped panels, electrified walls, exploding coolant tanks. Jace fought too, sloppy at first, but learning fast. He wasn't a soldier. But he was angry. And angry men are dangerous. They took down all 3 dropships in 4 hours. Kale got hit again. Shrapnel to the leg. She hissed but didn't stop. Jace dragged her to cover, patched her up with shaking hands. Don't die, he muttered. She looked at him through blood-matted hair. Not planning on it. That night, Rido's yard burned. Nothing left but smoke and glass. They flew again. This time, deeper into the black. No plan. No direction. Just away. In the quiet afterward, Kale sat across from him in the shuttle's common bay. Her leg was wrapped tight. Her eyes unreadable. They'll send more. Jace nodded. Let them. She tilted her head. Why do you care, Jace? You don't know me. You've got nothing to gain. He leaned back, arms folded. Maybe I'm just stubborn. Or stupid. Maybe both. She smiled again. This time, it reached her eyes. I don't want to keep running, she whispered. Then we don't. We make a stand. How? He pulled up a nav map. Zoomed in on a system deep in disputed space. There. Old mining colony. Long abandoned. But it's got shields. And a signal relay. We can broadcast. Broadcast what? The truth. Your truth. Kale stared at the map, then at him. They'll kill you for it. Jace shrugged. Maybe. But someone has to know. She didn't respond. just nodded slowly. For the first time, Jace saw something new in her eyes. Hope. The next journey began not with a leap, but with the quiet, shared decision that running was no longer enough. They were going to fight. And they were going to make the galaxy listen. The old mining colony floated like a scar across the dead rock of Athron 8. Once bustling with workers and machines, it was now nothing more than rusted scaffolding wrapped around a hollowed-out mountain. Most people passed it without a second glance. No strategic value. No natural resources left. Just debris orbiting a forgotten moon. Perfect. Kale stood at the viewport, eyes sharp, jaw tight. You sure this place can hold? Jace nodded, his hands flying across the console. Structural cores intact. Power grids offline, but the old systems still talk to each other. We patch in, run it on low burn, and we're ghosts. Until we're not. Exactly. Landing wasn't smooth. The pad listed 30 degrees off true, forcing them to ground the shuttle manually. Dust choked the airlocks. Gravity flickered. Lights failed more than they worked. But it was theirs, for now. The main command center was buried 3 levels deep, past collapsed hallways and cracked glass. It smelled like oil, ozone, and something old. Kale moved ahead, silent, her weapon drawn. Jace followed, flashlight sweeping the dark. They reached the control chamber. Dead monitors lined the walls. A half-burnt console flickered to life when Kale hardwired power from their shuttle. Jace stepped up beside her. Think it'll broadcast? Kale studied the system. Signal strength is weak. But if we amplify through the comms tower, maybe. Won't reach the core worlds, but the rim, they'll hear us. That's all we need. Enough ears, and the story spreads. She didn't look convinced. You think they'll care? She asked. That anyone will believe me? Someone will. She stared at him, searching. You always this hopeful? No, he said. Just when it counts. They spent the next 2 days making the place livable. Kale scavenged and repaired. Jace rewired the satellite arrays and set up a secure uplink. They moved like 2 halves of a plan neither had spoken aloud. It wasn't comfort, it was necessity. A quiet, buzzing sense of purpose. But the truth hung between them like an incoming storm. They wouldn't stay hidden for long. On the 3rd day, Kale found the logs. Buried deep in the colony's servers, video files, old transmissions, encrypted reports. She sat there, watching footage from her own hunt. Herself, ragged and blooded, sprinting through jungle while laughter echoed over speakers. She didn't speak. Didn't cry. Just copied every file. That night, Jace found her standing on the comms platform, eyes on the stars. I'm ready, she said. He powered up the relay. The message took 10 minutes to send. Her voice was calm, even. No rage. Just truth. She told them everything, the abduction, the trials, the hunt. Named the corporations. Showed the footage. Let the world see what she'd endured. When it was over, Kale turned away. They'll come now, she said. I know. They'll erase us. Then we make it hard. The response was faster than expected. 12 hours later, 3 ships dropped out of hyperspace. Sleek. Black. Armed. Kale activated the colony's shields. Jace manned the artillery ports. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to say. The first barrage hit like thunder. The shield held, but only just. Jace returned fire, scoring 1 hit, maybe 2. Not enough. They'll breach in minutes, Kale said, her voice clipped. We can't hold them off forever. I've got an idea, Jace said. But it's stupid. She gave him a crooked grin. My favorite kind. He explained. She didn't argue. While the shields buckled, Kale slipped into the power core shaft, hauling a backup fuel cell. Jace climbed the comms tower, rerouting every amplifier to create a pulse loop. We detonate the uplink relay, he said over comms. Burst the signal so wide it'll fry every net between here and the trade axis. It'll fry us too. Maybe. But not before the galaxy hears every word of your story. She paused. I want them to know my name. They will. Kale triggered the overload. Jace hit transmit. The colony lit up like a flare against the black. A signal burst across dozens of systems, unfiltered, raw. Her voice. Her face. The footage. The pain. All of it. Then the uplink exploded. The colony went dark. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Jace woke up buried in rubble. His head throbbed. His ears rang. But he was alive. So was Kale. She dragged him out of the tower before it collapsed completely. Her face was burned. One eye swollen shut. But she grinned when he opened his eyes. Did it work? He croaked. She nodded. It worked. He sat up, groaning. Outside, smoke still rose. The attackers were gone, burned, disabled, or retreating. But far above, new ships hovered. Civilian models. Media cruisers. Relief vessels. Independent forces. They'd heard. We're not alone anymore, Kale said. Jace looked at the sky, blinking through soot. Guess it wasn't such a stupid plan after all. She leaned back beside him, exhausted. We'll have to keep moving, she murmured. They'll still try to silence us. He nodded. But now we've got something else. She turned to him. What's that? Time. And in that broken, half-dead colony, they sat shoulder to shoulder, watching the stars flicker with the promise of change. The galaxy did not change overnight. It never does. But the signal Kale and Jace sent out became a spark that caught on kindling hidden across 1,000 systems. On forgotten worlds, old rebels woke. On quiet stations, whispers turned into movement. Even in corporate towers and polished halls, people began to question what they had once ignored. Kale's story was impossible to unsee. It was raw, ugly, real. And it spread. For weeks, Jace and Kale stayed on the move. Each stop was short, just long enough to patch the ship, rest, or deliver another piece of evidence to sympathetic ears. Kale became more than a fugitive, she became a symbol. And Jace, well, he became something too. Not just the guy who helped, but the one who never flinched. In the outer territories, they found others like her, escaped prey, survivors of the hunts, those who had fled and hidden in the shadows for years. Kale didn't hesitate. She spoke to them. Listened. Fought for them when she had to. Protected them when no one else would. And she never let herself forget. You keep carrying their names, Jace said one night, watching her inscribe symbols onto the inside hull of their ship. They didn't survive. But I did. That has to mean something. It does. The galaxy began to shift. Slowly. The corporations behind the hunts were dragged into public tribunals. Denials, spin, lies, all of it was broadcast. But there were too many voices now. Too many witnesses. Too much blood. Eventually, justice came, not the clean kind from stories, but the kind people make with grit and truth and refusal to stay silent. One by one, the hunts were outlawed. One by one, the prey were given names again. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Kale stood before the Galactic Concord Assembly 1 year later. She wasn't in chains. Wasn't in hiding. She wore simple black armor, marked only by a single silver band across her shoulder, the sign of those who survived the games. Jace sat in the gallery. Clean shirt, old scars, still fiddling with a stimstick. She spoke clearly. Firmly. Without hesitation. They took everything from me. My name. My future. My dignity. They made me pray. But I am still here. And I am not alone. The chamber fell silent. Later, in the corridor, Jace caught up to her. You didn't throw a punch. I'm shocked. She smirked. I'm evolving. Scary thought. They walked together through the polished halls, past envoys and lawmakers and diplomats. But this time, no one looked at her with fear. Or pity. Or hunger. They looked at her with something else. Respect. That night, back aboard their ship, Kale stood by the viewport again. You ever think we'd make it this far? She asked. Jace leaned beside her. Not for a second. She laughed. It was light. Free. I think I want to go back, she said after a moment. Back where? To the outer fringe. Where the others are. There's more work to do. He nodded. Count me in. She glanced at him. You sure? There's no payout. No medal. Wasn't in it for that. Then why? He paused, shrugged. Because once someone sees a wrong, and does nothing, they become part of it. I don't want to be that guy. Cale looked out at the stars. You're a good man, Jace. He shook his head. No. But maybe I'm getting better. The engines hummed to life. Their ship, patched, beaten, and worn, rose from orbit and slipped into the void. And as they vanished into the stars once more, something was left behind, a legacy. A mark carved not with weapons, but with truth. Because sometimes, saving the galaxy isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the first to say, this isn't right. And standing by that truth, no matter the cost. That was their story. And now, it belonged to the galaxy. Cale had her name back. Jace had found his purpose. And the hunted were hunted no more.